Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Okay. In the next little while, you guys are going to find out what happens. See, with markets, confidence is everything. Everything. You're going to find out what happens when a market changes from a confident outlook and an optimistic outlook. And that's what the only thing that's buoying the markets right now is optimism. You're going to find out what happens when all of that changes to a bearish, pessimistic sentiment. Because the markets are not yet reflecting what's happening in the real world. Nothing less is happening right now. Nothing more than world trade has been totally disrupted. China is the United States' biggest trading partner. Or should I say has been. The United States' biggest trading partner up till now. You know? And world trade has established trade routes. What's happening is this trade war is conflicting with all of this. And in a very detrimental way, damage is being done to the Chinese economy. I mean, before we had the trade war, there was issues, big, enormous issues with the Chinese economy. This trade war is slowing them down enormously. So what does all this mean to cryptocurrencies? Well, here's what we're doing right now. We are basically going along sideways. Cryptocurrencies, just like the stock market, has kind of got a little bit of an optimistic wait-and-see attitude about all this. Gold and silver, however, are different. Gold and silver are picking up a bid. They're moving upwards in price. And the reason why is they're scared. A lot of the people out there who are more in touch with what's really going on rather than just a feeling of optimism or pessimism. Those are feelings. Because those are feelings, they don't have to be correct. You can feel optimistic when the sky's quite literally falling, or you can feel pessimistic when things are going good. These are feelings. Traders are moved by these feelings. Right now, there's still a large hint of optimism in the markets. So, what does all this mean to Bitcoin? Bitcoin's got this wait and see with a little bit of optimism to it, and so has the stock market right now, the markets. But gold and silver, they're going up because some of the early guys out there right now who have already got a pessimistic viewpoint of this whole thing are basically running for shelter. And I think their pessimistic viewpoint is probably very correct. There's a strong possibility. See, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. When things go bad, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. There's a strong possibility that over the next few weeks, as things start to turn pessimistic from optimism starts to turn to pessimism, and then that pessimism becomes fear, there's going to be a trade come from that. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. It's very possible that they could drop cryptocurrencies like you drop a hot potato. It's entirely possible. Because cryptocurrencies have not yet made the transition between a speculative investment and a safe haven asset. Gold and silver made that transition before you were ever born, before your grandparents were born, before their great 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 grandparents were born. Gold and silver were there. They are the ultimate safe haven asset. So they're going to hide in paper. They're going to hide in the dollar. I believe that's the wrong place to go, my personal opinion. But they're going to run there. They're going to run to gold and silver. when these storm clouds come over and the storm actually starts to hit. And the storm, believe me, this storm is approaching. World trade has been disrupted. New trade routes are about ready, in my opinion, to be established. And I'll tell you what we're looking at. We're looking at the West versus the East. Nothing less. Canada, Mexico, the United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, right? All going to trade together. Versus the East. China, North and South Korea, you got your Russia, Iran. It's a new trading bloc forming over there. And in the future, a few years out, like 2 or 3 years from now, after this has been established, this is a momentous move. If you look at the world as a chessboard, what's just happened is a momentous move. Now, you say to yourself, well, if the chances are Bitcoin could go down in price, what's best to do? Get rid of all my crypto? No. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is on the other side of this, after this downturn happens and the pessimism comes and everybody gets frightened and scared and starts to sell everything off, starts to move into dollars, starts to move into gold and silver, dumps a lot of these other assets, they dump them. There's going to come a certain point during this when the world's central banks are going to go absolutely ballistic. They're going to go nuts. They are going to print money like you never seen money printed before. I call it the Great Print. I've been expecting this for years. I knew it was coming. This trade war is only exacerbating it and making it come quicker. You know, it's pushing it up a few pegs, like closer. Whereas if things had been left alone, it probably would have come in 2021. It would have started as a mild recession, would have deepened. Now things are altogether different. That's out the window. What we have now is we have an imminent recession that's going to turn into a depression. So cryptocurrency, I'm half expectant. I got a very strong expectation for the price to drop on them when this trouble really starts to hit. But it's only going to be for a limited period of time. And bearish sentiment, I believe, is going to come back into the cryptocurrency market during that period in time. As soon as the central banks react, and listen guys, I'm going to tell you what, they can't help but react. Because if they don't react, the whole world is going to basically go down the sewer once this thing starts. Because all of these enormous over-leveraged bubbles that exist out there that have been blowing up through over like 11 years of 0% interest rate policy and stuff are going to start to pop. And if left unchecked, if they didn't do anything and they let these bubbles pop, we would all be done. It would be over. Over. They can't let that happen. There is no way on this earth that they could let this whole thing melt down. There's no way that they could let it melt down and not do anything about it, because it would destroy them too. It would destroy everything. We would be living in a world where there wouldn't be any financial system whatsoever. What kind of world would that be? That's the kind of world we'd live in if they let it melt down without doing anything. So of course they're going to do something. They did something in 2008. They're going to do the same thing all over again. It's basically a repeat of 2008, except this time it's worse. This time the bubbles are bigger. This time we got more debt out there. The system is more over-leveraged. So she's going to pop. And as she starts to pop, they're going to intervene. It's that moment of intervention when you need your cryptos. Because that's going to be the real turning point for crypto. That's not going to be a small bull run. We're talking a bull run in gold, silver, and cryptos that's going to last for years. It's going to be enormous. Well, first crypto took the lead in a bull run, little bull run, up to 13,800. And gold and silver sat there and watched, and they were on the sidelines. They were like, oh, look, He's running away from us. But now gold and silver's starting to catch up, and crypto is the one that's backed away from the finish line. Well, I think gold and silver now are going to start to take the lead a little bit for a little while. Crypto's going to cool off, but then once these bankers and the Federal Reserve, these world central banks, flip that switch. Once they flip that switch, then it's going to be a bull market in all three, gold, silver, and cryptos. So if you've got, this is your chance. Probably your last big good golden opportunity with crypto may be coming up in the very near future. And it is a possibility that when this crisis hits and they run into dollars and they run into gold and silver and they drop a lot of other things, maybe including crypto, that you might get a half price sale. But on the other side of this, when the great print comes and the world central banks flip that switch, it's going to be on, baby, for crypto, gold, and silver. It's going to be an unlimited rush to the moon that ain't going to stop for the longest time until it gets there. So, I mean, it's up to you guys. Do you want to continue to spend your money on lottery tickets, and stuff you don't need, junk that you probably got laying around your house already anyway, heaps of it? Dollar store merchandise, a lot of people when they get paid, they run to the dollar store and they fill the cart. There goes $100 or $150 right there, and then they stop off for their lottery tickets, and more. Other vices, that they have. And by the time they get home, half their paycheck's gone. You don't need any of that stuff. Now's the time for you to get your foot in the door as these prices start to cool off, right? Get a little bit put away for yourself, and you'll be oh so glad on the other side of this when the great print comes. This is nothing less than taking everything away from the middle class. Everything they have, their bank accounts, is going to be taken away. And how they're going to do that is they're going to steal your money from you with inflation, while your money's still in the bank. And they're going to impoverish the middle class. That's what's coming with the great print. It's going to be inflation like you've never seen before, but it's not going to be regular inflation. This is going to become something called stagflation, where the economy is basically flatlining at the same time as you got double-digit inflation. We're going to go through 2 years of that. While it gets worse and worse, slowly, every month it's going to get worse and worse. And after about 2 years of it, we're going to move into the hyperinflation part. And that's going to be the most terrifying part of it all, because the world central banks have no control whatsoever. There's a couple things that the world central banks have no control over. One is the long end of the yield curve. They have no control over that. And they don't have any control over runaway inflation, because if they throw money at it, it just makes it worse. It's like an electrical fire, Get an electrical fire? Or say you got a fire in your stove, and it's a grease fire. Never throw water on it. But that's what throwing money at a hyperinflation's like. And that's the only real big tool that they have. It's like the doctors out there now. They don't have a lot of tools either. One of the biggest tools they have is antibiotics. They're being careful with their antibiotics because they know that's one of their last tools. They have to fight it. Well, the world central banks are the same way. They only have one great tool, and that tool is money creation. It fixes everything as far as they're concerned. But you can't fix a hyperinflation with money creation. It just feeds it. So that's where we're heading ultimately in the end, is hyperinflation. We're probably about 2.5 years away from the hyperinflation. And the hyperinflation is going to rip everything to shreds. We will come through the other side of it through a reset. There's going to be a reset. At the end of the hyperinflation, there's going to be a reset. We will come through it. But we're probably looking at about maybe 3 to 4 years from now before we finally get to the end of all these problems that were created by the central bank in the first place. And now the central bank is the only chance we have to to basically survive this thing. They have to throw the money at it. It's going to cause the hyperinflation. But if they didn't, the whole thing would melt down. I mean, it would just be total devastation. Total devastation if it completely melted down. Well, I'll give you a few tastes of what it would be like, what I'm talking about if they let it totally melt down. What would happen is everything would be basically sold off mark to market. And the money supply, as these debts, this over-leveraged system gets paid out, what would happen is money would just be extinguished. Because the counter side of all of our money we have now is debt. All of your money's been created from debt. So if those debts are suddenly all paid off through like margin calls and everything else and mark to market, there's no money left. You spiral into a deflationary cycle where just all the money just disappears. Money in a deflation like that, money is the only thing of value. Would be currency. Ultimately, it would be worth more and more and more and more. Same thing happened during the Great Depression, but they were on a gold standard. And the reason why that's not going to happen this time, we're going to have central bank intervention this time. It's going to be what I call the Great Print. They can't let it spiral out of control like that. In fact, it's the biggest thing that terrifies the world's central bankers. Ben Bernanke said it best. He said, in order to fight deflation, we will, if we have to, he said, we will fly over in helicopters and dump money out the window. A fleet of helicopters dumping $100 bills on the ground. That's what they'll do if they have to. And so he got nicknamed Helicopter Ben because he made that statement. But it's very true. The world's central banks, in a crisis, will turn dovish. They will turn into money, the biggest money creation tool. And in a way, this kind of saves us, but only for a little while, because the situation keeps getting bigger and bigger. It saved us back in 2008 for like the last 11 years, but it created inflation. This time they're going to have to do it so much bigger that it's going to create the hyperinflation. But they have no other choice. It's either do that or have the whole thing melt down. They're not going to let it melt down. So that's what we're waiting for, guys. That's the takeoff, the real takeoff signal for cryptocurrencies is that great print. And it can happen so fast. All we need is a sharp downturn that can be caused by the trade situation, the Brexit, Chinese economy rolling over, etc. All things that look like they're going to happen pretty soon. A sharp downturn caused by that. And then the great print begins. Because they're in a crisis situation. Basically a meltdown of the financial system. Once the great print begins, that's the takeoff signal. So these cryptocurrencies going down for the next little while, you might not get that long a period in time before they really take off when the great print begins. And if you wait until after the great print begins, you might see the price explode so fast in cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, it might be actually hard for you to get in a meaningful way, anyway cheap. You might still be able to get in, but it might cost you a lot more than it costs right now. So listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. And give me a thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.